Daniel, welcome to PerformX. So
Thank you.
you joined us last year with a pretty vibrant activation involving a dog at
Yes.
PerformX 2023. And yeah, great to see you again. How have you been?
Yeah, really, really good. Thank you. Really good. Great to chat.
We had a good chat just now off camera, and you've had quite a colourful background in terms of like pro football, and you're now living out in Cape Town. Talk me through that and how Fortis has been built based on kind of being able to be based from anywhere.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the most random background in the world, but starting off playing professional football, having a glimmer of what that life might have been like for about 30 seconds, and then moved into a professional world from there. Started off in sales, worked in a fast-growing tech company, and that was incredibly successful, which was Just Eat, which I had an amazing experience there. And then went on to another tech startup, very, very small at the time, in the elderly home care market, which is not as glamorous and sexy as Just Eat was. But it was a meaningful company, and we were doing really great work and grew that company. There was four of us to start with, and there was over 100 when I left.
Wow.
But I'd done it a couple of times with other companies, and I sort of had this feeling that I wanted to do my own thing, and I'm obsessed with the health and fitness industry massively, obviously from my football days, and I'd been through my own physical transformation journey after putting tons of weight on after football. Got an online coach, lost a lot of weight, got into great shape, realised re-realised just how important the role of a trainer and a coach is in someone's health journey. And COVID had just happened, and we just sort of identified this amazing group of people who we thought we could help, personal trainers and online coaches, and sort of took the plunge out the corporate world, started the business in the middle of the global lockdown, which, as you mentioned, it meant the team were sort of fully remote from day one, in different places. So we are a fully remote company, because we started in the lockdowns, and that has enabled me. I've lived in Bali for a bit, and I'd lived in Dubai and then Bali, and I basically ticked the cliche boxes. And now I'm in Cape Town now, so enjoying life down there. Very, very different to Bali, but and also it's nice to. It's actually, when you live away, I really enjoy coming back to the UK as well, even if it's cloudy.
Yeah. Classic British weather. What's the fitness scene like in Cape Town?
It's booming, like really, really booming, because it's very outdoorsy. So in Cape Town itself is a bit of a bubble within South Africa, and the scene there is amazing. I'm massively into my CrossFit. I go to a CrossFit box. Shout out Motley Crew out there. They're legends, and the fitness scene is thriving there. There's a lot of people doing running. So when you go down to the coast, there's just runners everywhere, which is great to see, and a lot of outdoorsy stuff. So it's actually, I thought it might not, but it's booming down there, the fitness scene. Yeah.
Nice. And so you mentioned you spotted you spotted a problem in the PT world. What is that problem? What does Fortis do, if someone's not heard of you before?
So I think, effectively, the one of the biggest challenges for a trainer or a coach is the education you get to become a PT to become a personal trainer. That qualification is mostly geared around how to be a good personal trainer, so how to help your clients.
Practical skills.
Exactly, very practical. And then over the last 20 years, the industry, particularly in the UK, but also all around the world, has moved now from an employed model to a self-employed model. And when you're self-employed, now it's not just about doing the job, it's how do I run a business? How do I get leads? How do I get clients? How do I keep them? How do I price them, my services? All of those things. So that was hard enough as it is, being a business owner without having necessarily a business qualification. And then the rise of social media and things moving online, throw that into the mix, and now you have to be a head of marketing, a head of sales, a head of finance, and you've got to deliver a great service to your customers. And we just saw that that was quite a challenge, and it was quite fragmented on how they fixed it. So effectively what we do is we provide trainers and coaches with like a customized marketing strategy. So rather than saying, here are some ideas on what to post on social media, or here are some ideas on what you can do to generate leads, or here's a group of people doing a particular thing a certain way, we think you should do this way. We work with an individual, we understand their strengths, their opportunity areas, what they like, what they don't like, what their opinions are, excuse me, and then we create a marketing strategy specific to that individual, which includes social media content as well. So, you know, they don't have to sort of doom scroll and think, you know, what's this person doing? How should I do that? How do I write captions? How do I create hooks? What's the trending audio? Like, we take all of that and do it all for them, so they can just focus on turning this concept into a little bit of content, posting it, engaging with their audience, and sort of delivering a good service.
Nice. So it's very very personalised, very tailored to the individual.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. We found that it doesn't work if it's not. So whenever there's like you can kind of see it actually when you look on, excuse me, when you look on social media and you see someone who is doing something that they've been told to do that isn't authentic to them, and it's so clear.
Or if they're just copying a trend, you can tell they're sort of
Exactly
trying to mirror someone else's social. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it has to, because everyone's different, you know, like everyone's had a different upbringing, everyone's got a different set of values, everyone's got different strengths, and your marketing strategy has to incorporate all of those things. And if you ignore them and just give someone a marketing strategy based on what's worked for other people, it isn't going to be fantastic. You know, it might work to a certain degree, but it's not going to be good for the medium and for the long term.
Right. How important do you think mentorship and guidance is in the PT world?
It's crucial. I mean, there's the old cliche, every coach needs a coach, and I think it's really difficult to figure it out. The finding the right person or the right company is very, very important. So that's the crucial bit, because you can get, but unfortunately in the fitness industry, you can get burned. So you can join the wrong mentorship program that doesn't fit with what you need. You can get outright ripped off. So finding the right one is important, but finding one is important because there's just so much information out there, and often now it's conflicting. You know, you could if you scroll through social media or look through Google or YouTube and find 10 different videos telling you 10 different ways to do the same thing, and without someone who's actually going to put their hands on your shoulder and say, like, this is the right thing for you, you could end up making quite a lot of mistakes, and as my co-founder often says, standing on a lot of rakes. So if you can find someone or a company who can sort of like help you navigate not slipping on that banana skin, don't fall in that pothole, your life's just going to be a lot, you're going to get from 0 to 100 just a lot faster. So
it's been a year since we last got up at PerformX. What do you think have been the key trends in the PT world in the last sort of 12 months?
So the last time we were at PerformX, the whole AI ChatGPT revolution certainly wasn't in. I don't think it was really out. It was, but it wasn't. And for the last year, it's been flying. So there's that. I don't necessarily think it's massively impacted the fitness scene just yet, but it certainly started to come in, especially when you see sort of like clearly generated content, which is quite obvious to see. The other thing I think is this continuing movement for people wanting to find a trainer or a coach online, and more personal trainers wanting to diversify their revenue streams from just being on the gym floor to actually, if I build an online presence, I could get some online clients, and not just picking one and going with it. So not just saying, well, I'm an on the floor PT and the gym floor, that's all I'm doing, or I'm just going to be an online coach and live in Dubai. There's this plethora of coaches who are picking the middle option now, which is amazing, which is, well, actually, I love working with clients in person. That's amazing to me. But I also want some online clients. One, it supplements my income. Two, it means maybe I don't have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day of a week. And also, it gives you the flexibility. If you want to go on holiday, I can take a week off and I've still got my online income. I might lose my face-to-face income. So there's this rise in sort of in coaches picking like something that fits with their lifestyle and those options. Yeah, and then I'd say one other trend as well is there are a lot of mentorships and coaching programs, and over the last year, I mean, every time I go on social media, there's a new person who's talking about coaching trainers and coaches. So that is a rise in that as well, which has started to happen, I think, over the last year.
And you deal with online and offline and hybrid PTs.
Yeah.
In terms of their clients, have you seen any shift in behaviour or the way they're spending on PT sort of thing?
I think, yeah. So I think there's like what's quite interesting is when someone adds an online element to their business. So let's say that you're a client and you're seeing your personal trainer for 2 sessions a week. And then that trainer starts to work with Fortis, and all of a sudden, this trainer now, we introduce some different revenue streams for that trainer, because now they want to do some hybrid programs and some online coaching parts to their business as well. And then if you're training with them twice a week, now your trainer is saying to you, look, as well as training 2 days a week, I can also give you programming for the other days that we're not together. And as a client, now I'm not just getting worked really hard 2 days a week. I'm now getting sort of like an end-to-end solution for a longer period of time. So my trainer is now becoming more of a coach to say, where do you want to get to in 6 months? You've got your 2 sessions that you're having in person, but now you're going to get a few programmed workouts when you're not with me. So as a client now, I'm getting an enhanced service now. I don't have to just go to the gym and sort of figure it out myself when I'm not with my trainer. So clients, the level of service clients are getting is getting better and better, because we're introducing, it's like habit tracking, like personal trainers are now helping their clients with habit tracking. So whether it's sleep or, just things like steps. Those things, as we know, like they make a huge difference. If you want to lose weight or gain strength or whatever it may be, it's the little things that add up to a big difference. And in the old world of a PT, where you turn up and you do an hour session once a week or twice a week, you miss out on all of those opportunities to help that person over the longer period. So I think clients are they're continually getting a better and better service now.
And they're getting more awareness for how the rest of their life should look, sort of thing, the standards that they should set on themselves. It's like, it reminds me of something Phil Learney says, where a bad coach is, you only cater to them for that hour a week, whereas
exactly
a good coach will look at the whole 24 hours, like they look at the whole rest of their day and where things are going wrong. And
exactly. Yeah. And the same can be said the other way, where if you, as a client, if you sign up to a program that isn't tailored to you, it's not specific, it's very cookie cutter, there's no feedback loops, there's no accountability, we may as well be putting in a VHS tape from like Jane Fonda from the 1970s and just follow along, because that is just a fast track to sort of giving up, not doing it. And the rise of coaching versus just selling programs is it's really helping to stop that from happening. So we don't have just like influencers selling cookie cutter programs, as it was years ago, when it was more like celebrity endorsed stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's a bit more coaching and you get a bit more end to end.
And with the increased popularity of wearables, are you seeing that integrating a lot more?
Yeah, massively. I mean, I'm sat here with my Apple Watch on, and I think wearables are a great way that you can get an understanding of someone's, especially their habits and how their body's performing day in, day out. And as a trainer, it's another thing that, again, this is not part of your PT qualification. So if you want to really understand how your client is on a day-to-day basis, you're going to have to do a bit of further education. You're going to have to figure things out. Because the technology is moving so fast that the people who are qualifying PTs and the training providers, it's moving fast. It's a bit like, I imagine it's a bit like schools with like, engineering and software engineering. It's like they can't keep up. High schools can't keep up with the speed at which technology is moving. So when you're learning things in school, you get into the big wide world, and it's like, well, that would have been useful 5 years ago, but now it's not, you know. So I do feel a bit for them because things are moving so fast.
That's true. That is true. Moving into your bread and butter, social media. So obviously, it's one of the key channels most PTs will use. And what are the common mistakes that you often see PTs doing wrong when it comes to social?
It kind of falls into two camps. There's the camp that probably the biggest mistake is not doing it. You know, so wanting to do it, spending a lot of time on social media and looking at what other people are doing, and then convincing yourself that you're not as good as the people who are on social media crushing it because look at how great their content is. So then you sort of feel there's a bit of imposter syndrome kicking in, and then you don't post. And that's it's like a really tricky cycle to get out of. So that's like one place, and like for any trainer or coach who's listening to this, just like get started. And most people are winging it. That's the reality. So, but that's one camp of people. That's probably the biggest mistake I would say, because then you can't. You're not even attempting really to be in the game.
So it's the fear of starting, just
exactly. There's that, and then I'd say on the other side, when you do start posting, sort of not necessarily having a plan and being led by watching others and being. So if you're watching other people and how they do their content, and that's very much, I guess, kind of creating your path. So you're watching other people, you're deconstructing what they do. You're seeing trends, you're trying to figure it out yourself. That's another thing where you can just sort of like knee-jerk and create content that's not authentic to you. And you're always short-term thinking then, because you are literally just sort of doing what you see. So you have to keep spending lots of time to keep seeing, to keep doing. So you're sort of stuck in this time
research.
Exactly. So you can't. You're basically then like a slave to figuring it out, to then doing it yourself. So that's one. And then I would say lastly is sort of not having an overarching plan that you're moving forwards with. So if you're not thinking at least a month in advance, where is your content? What is the purpose? You know, so for the best people who do social media the best, every bit of content is connected to an overarching marketing strategy. So if I'm posting something today, there's a reason for that, because in a week's time, I'm going to be releasing something over here. So there's always thought going into every individual post that you make or every email that you send. So if you're just posting to sort of keep your head above water and keep staying ahead, you're just going to be thrashing under the surface, and you're never going to be able to get up because you're not planning too far in advance. So I'd say those, not starting, doing like just following other people and trying to figure it out that way. And then lastly would be not having a plan that your content feeds into.
Yeah, no overall strategy sort of thing. Yeah, that's interesting. And do you find that obviously once someone's realigned, a lot of the work they were putting in was just like not even generating leads kind of thing. They were just like
exactly
that sort of copying mindset.
Exactly that. And the thing that especially Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you know, what's posted today is pretty much gone in a few days' time. So by its very nature, it's there and it's gone, it's there and it's gone, which means you have to stay on top of it. We also help coaches start to build things like email lists, and also move potentially into YouTube and other formats that are a bit more long lasting, let's say, but where the bulk of leads and clients comes from typically for a personal trainer online is through Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So when you're staying ahead and you're posting every day, you know, again, you put in the time and effort in and then it's gone. So if it's not working, you quickly start to feel a bit like, I don't want to do this anymore, like it's not working. So a lot of people give up, you know, which again, and then you're back in the first camp where it's like, well, I'm just going to do nothing, or nothing on socials. And that's tough, because you get in, you try, it doesn't work, then you get out again. So it's tough sometimes.
No, it's true. And when it comes to allocating time and resources to it, is there a optimal amount? Because I can imagine some people will spend the bulk of their day on it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not working with, so if you're working with Fortis, great, box ticked, you've got that time back in your diary. If you're not working with us and you're going to do this on your own, you need to be able to time box during your day. And often people know they need to do, especially social media content, and it's a very important thing. But when they look at their day, if they don't plan it in, it ends up getting pushed to the bottom of the list because it's like, oh, I need to respond to that client. I need to figure this out. I need to do a check-in. I need to go to this place. I need to do this. I need to get my dog's haircut. Like whatever it is, like there's like the list of things that go above social media content. And then you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh, well, better luck again tomorrow. So like allocating time is important. And I would usually say like earlier on in the day is better because your brain's more with it then. And the other thing I would really say is like curate your content feed. So, if you're a personal trainer and a coach who follows hundreds of personal trainers and coaches, and they're all of varying different styles, varying different backgrounds, varying different niches, you are going to be assaulted on your brain with lots of different styles and lots of different people doing lots of different things every time you go onto social media. Which will put you in a doom spiral. So if you can, chop out the ones that are not relevant, they're not interesting to you, they're not the type of coach you want to be, they're not the type of people you aspire to, or they're not coaching the type of clients you coach. Cut them out because it's noise that you don't need. And instead, when you're using social media to research, find things that are relevant rather than just like mindlessly scroll through. Because that is how you lose not just minutes, not just hours, but days of your life doing that. So they would be the tips that I would give. Nice.
And if you were going to say in 2024 in priority order, what channels, if your clients were like, I only want to do 1 or 2 channels, where would you focus? Because you touched on sort of TikTok there, and
do you know, it depends on the person. So this is why an individual plan is so important, because for some people, I mentioned earlier a chap that I was speaking to yesterday, a legend of a guy, runs a CrossFit box down on the South Coast, and the knowledge that this guy has is insane. He's also like really friendly and good on camera. YouTube's gonna be great for him, because when he starts to talk about the detail that he can go into about how the human body works and how specific movements in CrossFit can be adapted, and people will search for that. And so he's he's not going to be doing dances on TikTok. He's Instagram's a good channel for him. The other thing for him that's going to be really good is email, because he's also very good at giving advice and giving tips. So email is good. But then if I flip that and I say, well, there's another coach who we're working with who's she steps on stage. She's a prep coach. Amazing personality. She's from Wales. If she watches this back, she'll know what I'm talking about. She's hilarious, and she works together. There's a partnership between her and her another coach, and they're so funny. They are really, really funny, and they're good banter. They've got an amazing community of women who work with them, and email for them serves a different purpose, because people will be attracted to her personality. And we're going to work with her on her email strategy to work on sort of like just bringing her personality out. What's she been thinking about that day? What's funny? What's made her laugh? Like how can we bring her personality to life and get people away from Instagram and onto email? So she's got 2 channels that are not reliant on each other. Because when Instagram goes down, which it did last week, she's not panicking, right. And instead she can email her email list and talk about how Instagram went down and what that did and what her day was like, or whatever it may be. So without sort of like dodging around the question, it's like for every
tailored. No, I like that.
It has to be tailored. Yeah, it has to be. Each person does need to have their own sort of channel set out for them based on their strengths, their opportunity areas, and their personality.
Audience as well, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
No, brilliant. That's really interesting. And what does that kind of onboarding process look like when you're starting with someone?
So we've kind of got 2 things that we do. So we've got a human part and a technology part. So the human part is firstly you have a strategy call, either with myself or one of the other members of the team, and that's where we sort of dig into where this person wants to go, what their goals are. Then they'll meet with their key account manager, who will again ask a bunch of questions, really start to dig in and find out what is this person's driving force, what are their opinions, all of the things that we've discussed. So that's really important. Then what we do is we set our machine on their background on social media, which goes and sort of like takes everything that's been posted from this individual in the past and brings to the table the tech opinion of what this person's personality is like. Then we've got our human opinion of what this person's personality is like. We bring them together and create, okay, well, this is what this person's ideal customer avatar is. These are their pain points. This is what they want to achieve. This is where they live. And then also, like, how do we play to this person's strengths? And at that point in that onboarding process, we then create, okay, well, here is the next 12 months marketing strategy based on all of these different things. And we break it down into quarterly sprints. So every 3 months, this person will get a plan. There'll be a lead gen campaign in there, there'll be a product launch in there, and then there'll be a bunch of social media content that will sort of sit within there each day. And then what we do, like a marketing agency, we then present this plan to the coach, and they say either, oh my God, you know me better than I do, or they say, can we tweak that, or can we tweak that? And then we tweak it, and then we sort of roll it out. So that's sort of how the process works.
Nice. You talked about the kind of the background work you do, and then you create a strategy. So can we unpack that strategy a bit? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I guess typically speaking, there's sort of two things that we focus on, and we try and do one of each every quarter. There are sort of lead gen strategies and tactics, and then there are product launches. So as an example, what you might do in a quarter, we'll use an example. You might do a lead gen strategy that is the release of a recipe book that has 50 recipes for how to make a meal in less than 500 calories or something like that. It could be a webinar on how to train like during your menstrual cycle or attached to that. It could be whatever it may be. There's something that's geared around generating interest and leads. And what we do is we work with the coach and we think, okay, well, let's think about your target client. Let's think about their pain points. Let's think about your personality. If your personality is not necessarily the most confident on camera, then running a webinar is that might be later down the line. And creating a recipe book might be an easier thing, or might be more in line with their personality. So we figure out something like that. Now, we'll do that on their behalf. We'll come up with the concept, we'll come up with the idea. We'll need their input because it has to be authentic from them. And then we will put together the plan on how to sort of launch that lead gen tactic. The idea there is that we're capturing email addresses, we're capturing leads, we're getting eyeballs on the page, we're helping showcase the coach's skill set. And then we'll move into a product launch. So that might be it might be an 8-week challenge. It might be a handstand challenge. It could be a pull-up challenge. It could be a pull-up program. Sorry, it could be a whole host. My favorite, and I need to stop saying this because I've said it a million times already, but last year, leading up to Christmas, we were sort of running a program launching for a lot of our coaches, and the one that stood out to me was a Get Sexy for Santa, and that was the product that was launched. But the idea is that if you've got a business and you're doing one-to-one personal training, or you're doing a hybrid program, or you're doing online coaching, the reality is that that's going to be the same for quite a long period of time, and it's probably not going to change a huge amount. What you don't want to be doing out there in the world is just saying, hey, do you want online coaching? Hey, do you want online coaching? Hey, do you want online coaching? And people just stop hearing it. Whereas if you're saying, like, I'm gearing up, I'm going to do an 8-week challenge, or I'm gearing up, I'm going to be like releasing this retreat, or I'm gearing up, I'm doing this webinar, or I'm launching this, like, what we
productizing it basically.
Exactly. So what we're doing is we're trying to, a little bit like, I always use the example of like Maltesers. You can buy a bag of Maltesers, and then at Easter you can buy an Easter egg that's Malteser, and then at Christmas you can buy another thing that's like a Santa flavored Malteser. It's the same chocolate, but it's packaged differently depending on the time of the year and depending on who they're trying to target the chocolate to. And for us, that's what we do. So we effectively look at it and we say, well, if we can do 8, so 2 a quarter, if we can do 8 things a year to give them 8 different reasons and 8 different things to talk about,
Nice.
that's sort of like more in the strategy side.
And on that note, how do you sort of, what's the balance between sales and driving engagement, I guess, when you're briefing them out?
So I think in terms of like my background sales, I started off as a door knocking salesperson and built out sales teams, and I love it. I love sort of the whole process around sales because I don't believe in this sort of like used car salesman type forcing that type of stuff. Like, to me, good sales is just having a really nice chat with someone and then helping them understand the benefits, and then it's a win-win-win for everyone involved. And when we work with trainers and coaches, there's almost like a bit of a thing around sales where it's like they don't really want to do it.
Yeah.
And there's work that needs to happen. If you create an amazing social media post and that post generates tons of comments and a few people message you off the back of it, if you can't turn that into either consultation calls or clients straight away, you're never going to get anywhere. It's going to be a lot of work and a lot of effort. So what we try to do, it's like sharpening the blade at the end. It's like we need to work on that sort of bottom part of their funnel. So this conversation and sales piece, we do a lot of training on this, and because the better we can help a coach get at those conversations and turning leads into clients, the less leads they're going to need in the future. So you can't get away from it. I was talking to a coach the other day, went for a Nando's, and I sat there. And again, if he's listening, he'll know exactly who it is. And we sat, and he was sort of, he wanted more clients. I want more clients. And we looked, and he'd had 60 new followers on social media in the last 30 days. And I looked, and I was like, great. I said, so tell me about those conversations.
Right, yeah.
And he was like, what conversations? And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, we specifically tell you, like, when you get a new follower, just engage with them, like, have a chat with them. They followed your page for a reason. And we looked through, and of the 60, probably 20 looked like they might have been an ideal client for him. So, like, for him, penny drop moment again, and we work with people on that. But that part of it, that's where all the money is made. That's where all the clients are made. It's very, very rare that someone's just going to rock into your inbox and say, hey, please coach me. I really need a coach. It does happen, but not enough to sort of to be able to grow your business the way you want it to grow.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's something that, especially for the Gen Pop, it's not something people want to do, is it? It's like you're convinced, you're getting them off the couch, basically. You're fighting Netflix.
And I think the thing is, like, a lot of time, my whole background when I was working at Just Eat, people would think, well, Just Eat is a household name. I mean, Snoop Dogg does the adverts, right? I mean, everybody knows. But back when I started in 2010, nobody knew what it was. So I would turn up to a restaurant in 2010, and I'd walk into a restaurant, and the restaurant owner would be behind the counter. The phone would be ringing off the hook, and that's one of 4 phones all ringing off the hook. And I'm trying to convince him that the phones are dead. Like, no one's going to be ringing you anymore. Everyone's going to be ordering online. And that was a really hard sell at the time. But it taught me a lot of lessons in that, because the ones who we were able to convince to move online, like, they were able to make better margins, they were able to sort of be way more efficient in their kitchen, and also they got well ahead of their competitors. So, like, within a very short space of time, they were in a really good space. But they didn't know that until I helped them understand the benefits of what it is that we were doing. If we would have just sat there and waited for them to realize that online is a thing, Just Eat would have been dead and buried, and it would have never happened. So, and it's the same thing with trainers and coaches. It's like, we want to sort of help someone understand that you can be the difference between where they are now and where they want to be. People often don't wake up in the morning and think, wow, I really, really just need to get in shape, or I really need to da-da-da. Sometimes it's a fleeting thought and it's gone. If you drop into their inbox and you start a conversation with them, and maybe you give them a few little tips on some things, and all of a sudden they're feeling a little bit more motivated, and you jump on a call, and then you find out that they've just gone through a really difficult breakup, or they've been overlooked for a promotion at work, or they out of breath going up the stairs chasing their kid, whatever difficult life situation they've got, And as a great trainer and a coach on a consultation call, you're going to find out what their driver is to sort of want to better themselves from a physical perspective. And the client will leave that call having connected these dots between where I am now, where I want to be, and how this person can help. But until you put yourself in the situation where you can have that chat with them, they'll never know, and you'll have never helped them know, and you'll be sat thinking, where are all the clients? And they'll be sat thinking, it's just, I could really do with losing some weight again. So by reaching out to them and starting a conversation,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, I'm always trying to say to people, like, you're helping them. Like, it's not like you're pushing on them like, you know, detox tea. You know, it's like, this is a really, really helpful thing for them, and you know you can change people's lives. They don't know it yet. So by starting a conversation, don't think of it as selling. Think of it as like offering a service that's going to massively benefit. And if you switch that mindset, those conversations get a lot easier.
Nice. Yeah, really powerful that. And I know it's a challenge a lot of PTs face. I think it's just sort of a wall, isn't it? Of like, I don't like selling, I don't want to sell kind of thing.
Yeah, which is, and it's one of those things where once you've overcome that, and you can, and also, you know, don't be a slippery snake oil salesman. You know, like don't go straight in for the kill and be like, do you want coaching? You know, like, you know, do you want a PT? Or like, you look like you need a PT. You know, like that kind of stuff. Just be normal human. You know, hey, how's it going? I noticed that you do this. Start a conversation with them, and then move that conversation on. We teach a lot of this, and we sort of like help start a conversation with something normal, and then sort of like guide it into a conversation about fitness. And effectively, you know, the best coaches will nurture. So this person is unlikely to need their services right this second. So, but if you started the conversation, they now know what you do. And the idea is that maybe you want to capture their email address so you can slowly email market to them, or, you know, maybe you want to give them a few pointers on things that they can do and then come back to them in 2 weeks' time to see if they've done them. So, you know, treating every single client like they need your services right now is a mistake we see quite often. Whereas if they just look at it and say, okay, well, this person doesn't need me right now, but I want to make a good impression and I want to give them a few pointers, and I'm going to come back to them in like 3 weeks' time.
Build their trust.
Exactly.
So when it comes to that sales process, what's your advice between how quickly do you try and get someone on a call sort of thing? Would you advise your guys?
So it kind of depends on how the conversation's flowing, really. So I try and say to try and get people on a call earlier than later. What you don't want to do is like create a DM pal. You know, you end up with like lots of these people you're in lots of conversations with. The way to really find out whether or not it's a good fit for that person is by getting them on a call. The difference is that, and it's a mindset thing, when you're in the DMs or you're in a conversation with someone, the important thing is to remember you're not selling your services, you're selling the consultation call. So, and that's a very different mindset. So instead of trying to sort of skip the consultation call part and try and diagnose their problem and start giving them, you know, and actually start selling your services in the DMs. If a consultation call is part of your process, and I would highly recommend having that if you are, depending on the size of your business, if you are at a point where you have loads and loads of leads coming through all the time, you can experiment with removing the consultation call process. If you have less leads, consultation calls just have a higher conversion rate, so I'd have that in there. But remember, you're selling the consultation, so it's like, you know, here's a couple of tips. I can go into a bit more detail on a call, or, you know, why don't we just hop on a call and quickly see if we'd be a good fit or what I can do to help. Or so you're actually like, the point of the DM is to sell the consultation, not to sell your service and your package. And one thing that often happens is people say, well, how much do you charge? In the DMs, they'll be like, well, how much you charge? What do you do and how much you charge? And the temptation is to go into your note section, copy what you've already got copied there, and like paste. Here's what I do, here's what you get, and this is the cost. It's such a surefire way to like not win a client. I mean, it can work, but if you're swimming in leads, experiment, test it out. If you're not swimming in leads, you want to optimize for the best potential conversion rates. So instead of doing that, just say, well, look, my pricing is catered towards the needs of the individual. So why don't we just hop on a call? I can find out a bit more about you, and we can run through the pricing side of things there. At least try to push the consultation call rather than just like collapsing like an old chair and just like copy and pasting if you can.
Yeah, for sure. And I think moving into PerformX, and I think a lot of what we've covered here is very aligned with our schedule for this year, where we're kind of identifying those. I think a lot of coaches will want to get better at coaching, but there's actually a lot of blind spots they have, which are the reason that there's such high churn in the industry. So as a show this year, we're catering to the kind of the business of fitness ultimately, and kind of understanding all those pots and those pools of content that you need as a coach to survive and thrive going forward, kind of thing. So can you give us a bit of a spoiler of what how you're activating this year? I've heard some bad news on the Doggo's not attending, but
Douglas isn't arriving. It's a really sad state of affairs. Our dog champion. So we're doing a couple of things. So we're making the stand fun. So you'll go there. There will be some money. It won't be real. It may or may not have my face on. I really hope it doesn't. They will, like, the guys who are putting it together have said that they will, and I hope they don't, but they might. So there's going to be a game on the stand. We're gonna be throwing some money in a bin. And also we're going to have like a roving crew as well. So some of our team will be going around the venue and sort of like interviewing people spontaneously, and we'll be running a competition. The whole thing for us this year is we just launched our new service, Fortis Campaigns, which specialises in social media, and we want to sort of interview and highlight just how much time gets sunk into like actually creating your social media strategy, whether it's doom scrolling, writing captions, thinking about the overarching strategy. Then there's the actual creation of the content, and so the whole thing's going to be geared around sort of like how much time people spend, how much money they spend, or how much money they sacrifice by spending that on social media. So we'll be doing some pretty fun activation on that. There'll be a lot of fluorescent hoodies with Fortis logos on the back. If anyone sees our QR code, you can scan them and enter the competition as well on the day. Nice.
No, sounds good. Sounds good. And in your eyes, why is PerformX unmissable for a fitness professional?
I think it's the diverse. So I love the fact that there's some great speakers, which is always good to see. I think a lot of the top brands are there. It's really easy if you're in let's say that you work in a pure gym, or you're a gym owner in a particular part of the country. It's very rare that you get an opportunity to be around a lot of your peers. And when you come, certainly when the last 2 years at PerformX, it's typically the more aspirational of the industry who are there because they want to learn, they want to know more, they want to network, they want to figure things out. So you're going to be surrounded by people who are sort of like wanting to further themselves, whether you're a gym owner, whether you're a personal trainer, a coach, or even a brand. Being around a bunch of other companies and a bunch of peers that are sort of striving for success and being like able to network with them in real life, which in this modern day and age now with Zoom calls and like all the other stuff, it's like you don't get a chance to do that. So PerformX is awesome for that, to be fair.
Yeah, sort of priceless moments with
exactly
the best in the game, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, brilliant. Thanks a lot for coming down, Daniel, and looking forward to catching up.
Pleasure,
in a few weeks.
mate. Thank you, buddy. Thank you.